Hey guys, today I want to share with you the story of Shotzi. This goes a lot of directions, and hopefully it helps you understand why it is so difficult to help these cats, despite having the ability, despite having the confidence, the know-how, the space to do so, and all the things. It just becomes very, very difficult. And circumstances need to be just right for a lot of these cats to make it through. So Shotzi's story starts way back, probably at least 10 years ago now. I'm a little fuzzy on the dates because I've never been a good dates guy, but I promise you all of the other things are 100% accurate. Shotzi came in at least 10 years ago as an 8, 9 month old kitten. I'd say closer to 11, 12 years ago now because we're at least a year or two past Shotzi's adoption. So when she initially came in, she was about a 9 or 10 month old kitten. We had a guy out in holding who a lot of people didn't like, and he wasn't very good. He was one of those guys that you could explain how to do everything in great detail. He'd stand there and listen to you, and then he'd go home, he'd look up everything you said on the internet, and he'd come back the next day and he'd debate everything you said. And you just deal with this every day out of a brand new person after you've been there for over a decade and know all the ins and outs and learn the hard way. And he was just very difficult. Right before he left, he seemed to have gotten it, and he tried, but it was just too late. And so the situation with him and Shotzi got loose from her cage. She got loose from her cage, and I believe overnight. So sometimes what would happen is if a cage were to not be closed properly, or sometimes the cat would find a way to pop it open, we'd walk in the morning, there'd be an empty cage. And where is the cat that was in that cage? So Shotzi, being a semi-wild kitten, she was on the loose. We found her in a hole in the wall in the laundry room. So rather than making sure that I was there and I got the cat, he jumped in. He had to, I guess, step up to the challenge. Well, Shotzi bit him good. He tried to get her out of the wall. Shotzi bit him really good. And we had another woman, Anita, who worked in the small dog room. She was born in Germany. She was a very aggressive woman. And she decided she did not like Carl, so much so that if this cat bit Carl, I'll take her home. So that was Shotzi. And Anita lived in a pretty rundown house owned by AHS up the road. And it had been, years and years, decades of the house just not being fixed up. Parts of the house were previously, but the area where Shotzi was mainly was not. So for 8 years, Shotzi lived in this house. And Shotzi lived in this house as an indoor feral. She grew up and she just learned to live in that house. You know, for the longest time, Anita worked 6 days, and then she worked 5 days. She worked 5 days a week, so every day she was there. By the time she came home, she did what she had to do. She fed her cat, she hung out, she went to bed. Shotzi was out and about when she was gone. So she really never had any human interaction. Anita didn't have any skills with cats or even intention to work with her and make her become something. She just was letting her live in her house because she didn't like the guy that the cat bit. So she wound up in that situation. So 8 years later, Anita had to go to assisted living and just left the animals there. And they found homes for the dogs. The cats were left in the house. Me and Maria had to go over there. Our ACO had to go over there and get Shotzi from the house, as well as the other two, Moonsong and Starfire. I want to remember. Names are so hard for me. Names and dates. So recounting all these things sometimes are really difficult because I gotta remember so much. But anyway, Shotzi was the big challenge. She was the very big challenge because she was all but a feral cat in the house. there was a part of the wall where you can move it. It was like a very thin piece of wood on the one dividing wall next to a bathtub. Very strange house, because that room was set up like a bedroom or a living room almost. It had like an open pathway where you could see through, but then there was a shower and toilet in there. It was very strange. So anyway, she found her way into that wall, and she would go under the bathtub, and no one could reach her because it's as long as a bathtub. So we tried a couple different methods. Finally, we came up with a plan to start a vacuum in the bathtub, and she would come running out because she was underneath it, and the sound alone would get her out. So she did that. She ran out. We caught her with a catch net, and she peed and freaked out and flipped all over the place. And that's where my journey with Shotzi started. So when I got her into the shelter, she was completely not used to human contact at all. She wouldn't allow human contact. She was extremely aggressive. This is where my experience came in, because I refused to lose with her. I knew this cat. I knew this cat's story. And I knew the amount of people that create these narratives that, well, you maybe as a kitten you could work with it, but once it gets to be an adult, well, it's too far gone. And, this is a lot of the things that paint these cats into these corners where they don't stand a chance in the future. If somebody doesn't step up, have the knowledge, have the know-how, and have the experience to say, oh no, this can be done because I've done it. You get anybody new in there, they'll tell you, oh no, you can't do this because of this and because of this. But, when you have that amount of time under your belt, you can go, actually, if you just let me do this, cat will be good. Sure enough, I worked with Shotzi for a long, long time. Shotzi spent a good year and a half there to 2 years-ish. When we backtrack just a little bit. So every Sunday, my only days off are Sundays. Every Sunday I'd have to make sure I wrote a list and a note for which cats to handle which way and how to do it safely and make sure that there was no incidents. And I've had some fantastic people who were my, Sunday area caretakers, so the people who would fill in for me on Sunday. I've had just a dynamite group of them, but it's still, every single time I wasn't there, I'd be worried. I'd be nervous that something would happen and there'd be a negative, strike against this cat, even though all week long we've maintained this baby steps ahead and just continuing to make progress until she was where she needed to be. And so when we finally got to the point of, we put Shotzi up online, Shotzi was going up for adoption, and we were everything we dreamed of. We were the cat that I could present to people, I can show to a stranger, and under my guidance, they can adjust it into their house. And that's where we got. When we posted her online, I got negative comments from people all over the building. One person who's still there and another person who's not. And they had a lot of negative things to say. Why are we even posting this cat up? No one could touch that cat. No one could even go near that cat. So I proved those people wrong as well. This is the stuff you got to deal with. You would think that when you get to be good, when you get to be great at what I did, the way that I did, and had success, because whether you like me or not, you got to know the cats came in where you couldn't touch them, where you had to get Jay to get the cat, and then at the end you move the cat. And that goes for all sorts of people. I'm not talking to a specific person, but that's the path that we traveled. The cat would come in, the cat would be unhandleable, and the cat would be slightly handleable, and then the cat would be more handleable, and then the cat would be up for adoption and would go home. And that's the reality of what we did. And you can not like me, but you can't change that that's the facts of what actually happened. So, just because those people weren't the ones that were taking care of her on my day off, just because none of them gave me the respect or decency to just say, hey, can you show me like all this progress you made with Shotzi? Because I can't even believe it. Last I saw, she was crazy, and no, I didn't deserve that. So it's okay, because between me and Shotzi, we won. Shotzi went home. Now, I'm going to include a lot of little videos. I worked with her in this, a couple little videos, lots of pictures. Shotzi was a bi-eyed girl, and she wasn't your standard bi-eyed, so she didn't have a blue eye, but she was bi-eyed nevertheless, and I was just so proud of her. I couldn't find her at-home pictures because I don't remember what email or where, and I searched a lot, but I just couldn't find them. I assure you she went home, and I've gotten pictures since, and they didn't keep me consistently updated, but I got an update or two, and she was doing well at home. She still played by her rules. She likes this, doesn't like that. That's what it is. But in the end, Shotzi deserved a home, and we accomplished that. We absolutely accomplished that. And I am so proud of that girl, because I took an 8-year-old feral cat and I domesticated her. And that beautiful cat deserved every bit of the life she has right now in a home. So, just want to put this out there, and I hope you enjoy.